Continue to shed light on eating disorders today on Afternoon Express, and our next guest grew up with it. Marelize was a perfectionist and a bit obsessive in anything she did as a child. Despite her outside appearance and excellent grades, she was never really fully fulfilled with the achievements in her life. In an attempt to achieve her goals she wanted to achieve in her life, she developed an unhealthy obsession with her body weight and food. As a result, the obsession developed into unhealthy eating habits, and she is here this afternoon to very bravely share her story on how she survived her eating disorder. Marelize, so good to have you on the show.
Thank you.
May I commend you for taking such a brave step, because I know so many people are going to identify with you today. You're 25,
yes.
Beautiful, radiant, looking absolutely wonderful, and as you shared earlier on, you said you had a life that any child could have dreamed of. At what point did things change for you?
You know what, I grew up in Portugal. I had the perfect life. As a teenager, I had the perfect body. I had the perfect body, a long, thick hair. I was an extrovert. I had a lot of friends. Everything was just perfect. Academically, sport, cultural. And you know, in 2010, my life took a turn. I think I've realized that the grown-up world is coming now. I need to make a choice to where I'm going. I was also always focused on success. I just wanted to achieve the best in everything. Since I was a child, 99% wasn't enough for me. It wasn't good enough. I want 100%. So yes, I was so obsessed with having control. I wanted to control everything, and the moment something went out of control, I lose it a bit. So I think the easy way out at that stage was to control my body, how I look. Together with being a teenage girl, you are focused on your looks, how I look, what is pretty, what does the social network want. And 1 + 1 makes 2. So the easy way out for me was to control how I look. I started eating less. Each time I went onto the scale and I lost a kilogram or 2, that was my biggest reward. Buying a one size smaller jean, that was success for me. And I was so getting in control of that I actually started losing myself. And before I knew it, when you reach a certain weight, you don't realize, you can't think straight. And I think that's where you don't have control anymore.
At what point did you realize that you are now officially struggling with anorexia nervosa?
Well, the day I was admitted into hospital, I would never forget that day. I woke up the morning, it was the 28th of October 2010, and I just laid in my bed and I just told my parents, I'm giving up. I can't handle this anymore. I don't want to live like this. I just gave up. That was the day when I was admitted into hospital. I weighed 35 kilograms, and my blood pressure that day was 70/30. And I think that day I realized, when the sisters and everyone was shocked, and I went into a private hospital because my body was so damaged already. And I think that was the point when I realized it's now my chance to make things right. My father also printed out a lot of pictures for me about our previous holiday, and I saw a girl, a healthy Marelize, eating an ice cream, and I saw a smile on her face, and I wanted to be that girl again. So I'm blessed to have that moment. So many people never realize that or never get to that point. But that was a moment for me when I realized this is now, I got a second chance.
Wow, you did get a second chance, indeed. Talking about a second chance, where are you now in your recovery journey?
Well, I'm sitting here today and I can truly say that I'm fully recovered. I have a baby, I have a healthy family, I'm living a healthy, balanced lifestyle. I'm also on my way to be a clinical psychologist, and I believe that this journey, led me there. To make a difference in other people's lives. But I also think it's not something that you decide it's over now, I continue. It's still something you think of every day, or something, but you get to a point where you must decide, I'm not going to take steps back. And if there comes a point where you take a step back, you need to take 2 steps forward. So I'm at a point now where I'm living for what is to come and I'm living for the positive. You can't change your past, but you can overcome that challenges and you can live for the future.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, for any person that's watching the show right now, who's headed to that Marelize that we saw sitting on that hospital bed, who's gaunt and basically just skin and bones, what would your advice be to somebody who's headed in that path, who's going through the same struggles that you wanted to have, the perfection, and the only way that you could control anything in your life was to control what goes into your body? What would you say to them?
You know what? It's the first thing you should always remember when having an eating disorder. It's not something to be ashamed of.
Yeah.
So many people is ashamed of it. They don't want to talk about it. And my journey to getting healthy again became when I realized I'm sick and I admitted it. And you also need to allow the people, because that's the point when you don't realize anymore, you can't think straight, and then you have to allow the people around you to make the decisions. So on the day I was admitted, Dr. Renata Skuman and my parents, they made the decision to get me into hospital. So I think, yeah, that is first thing you need to remember. Don't be ashamed of it. It's just for your own health and for your own journey, and also allow the people around you to help you at that point.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, you are such a beautiful testimony that there is help available, there is a life after an eating disorder that has gone as far as where it had taken you. And I'm so happy that you're sitting here today. Beautiful, such a shining light, and definitely an example to so many young people who might be going through this themselves. Thank you so much for sharing your story, Marelize. Oh, it's so wonderful to hear stories like this, and we need more of them. So continue to go to our social media and let us know how you would help someone who you suspect is going through a bit of a eating disorder situation. Let us know on Afternoon Chat.